at the time you'd call each other on the phone and say, okay, that sounds good. You talk for a little bit and you say, all right, let's pick, I don't know, 5 or 6 songs that we'll jam. Or maybe it might even be more. I remember Green Manalishi for sure, because that was like a benchmark for singers. If you could sing the end of Green Manalishi, that whole Halford thing, it was like, okay, that was cool. And
I tried like hell.
You used to be able to do that. I mean, you could do that. I mean, I remember you doing it, and it was like, I don't know, maybe NIB, maybe.
Yeah, it had to be Sabbath and Priest, and I think and then we branched out from there and started getting into like all the cracks of what we were into.
Yeah.
And in came some AC/DC,
probably,
and some, but then some Scorpions, or, But as the band progressed, I mean, the whole punk element came in.
That's Dave's favorite music, in case you didn't know.
We covered that.
I'm sure you did.
There is that punk element in the band for sure, but I was not a punk. I was not somebody who grew up on the punk stuff. I wasn't a big fan. These guys love the Ramones and stuff like that. I didn't like them at all. I mean, it is what it is. But at the same time, I did like some of the hardcore stuff. Anything that has a little bit more speed and aggression and whatever, I love that. No matter what it is. I don't care if it's death metal or whatever. If it's got a little more angst, I just think that that's what rock and roll is. So the more you pound it out, nothing for nothing, when you sit and watch, whether it's a drummer to whatever, and the guy has this little burst of super aggression, you instantly go, holy shit, what was that? And that kind of feeling is, I still have that. It's, it's like that high school mentality of like, no, we can beat this guitar, watch, whatever.
I mean, I might like apples and you like oranges. I'm not really a punk fan. I came from a metal background. There are some punk bands I like, Sex Pistols, Ramones. I like that and I can respect it. But for me, I grew up a metalhead. I grew up listening to Rush and the Police, like two of the greatest drummers ever to walk the face of the earth. And now I'm going to listen to a punk band. The guy can't even keep 4/4 on the floor together. I'm like, most of the guys in those bands couldn't even play. And I understand that was part of the luster of it, but I went to Berklee College of Music. I don't want to listen to some guy who doesn't know how to tune his guitar.
I was always liked it, but these guys were, God, I think they were punks at heart. I don't know if they were metal guys or punks first,
Yeah, they were probably punks. I don't know. The first thing was, kind of the Kiss Sabbath kind of thing, so we were all kind of in that groove. But then when we kind of hooked onto the Ramones and the Dead Boys and the Pistols and Clash and Generation X and all of that, it was like, and we were hanging out at Max's and CV's and the whole punk circuit, we were like way into that. And then Motorhead. And we heard Motorhead and we were like, oh my God, you can do both? And that's, that was kind of that was the flag we ran up and said, you can do both.
Look, punk metal, it's a two-step beat. It's the same beat. You put the snare on the 1, 2, 3, and 4, you put the snare on the ends, it's the same beat. When you put double bass in it, then it becomes metal.
And kind of really the birth of Overkill, because it's always carried that punk energy. I mean, all the way up into the Wings of War. I mean, it still has that punk energy. It's really been our stamp. I think it's one of the things that identifies us from other people in this scene, especially the OMG, the old metal guys, is that we really have that, that punk is part of our, our daily bread. It's in our DNA kind of a thing.
It's from like where we all came from, and, there's what makes this great and what kind of makes us all focused on it is we have a common thing in mind, a common goal, what we hear. No matter if Dave is more of a classic rock, bluesy type of guitar player or Guitar Hero guy, or me and Dee Dee are Dead Kennedys fans. You know what I'm saying? Is like the end result is whatever the product is, it has to move you. And maybe a little bit of the punk influence comes through because, I just always thought that was type of an aggressive. That's really like raw, natural, slice off everything, all the fancy stuff, 4 chords, kick you in the face, unplug your amp and walk home.
This album, there's a punk influence. I think you're right in saying that, especially in a tune like Garden State. But I think it's just that It's that fast Overkill influence, and I don't think that should be necessarily a punk influence. I think it's just a whole thrash, speed, and energy level. And it wasn't even like we set out to write fast songs or anything like that. I think it's just the energy of the song, comes through. A little bit with that punk rock vibe of just the not giving a shit, kinda, but not sloppy punk.
It's not like we're writing punk songs. It's not like we're writing hardcore records. It's like, but that little influence is definitely going to come out in us, and it comes out in his solo playing. Of all the people he listened to and he idolized. It all comes out.
So it shows up in metal songs with that type of energy, and to the record today.